Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Sandra and I am the Arthritic Artisan. So which craft are we going to be doing today? We are going to be taking this ordinary composition notebook and turning it into a really great piece of art with just a few simple materials that you probably have laying around. So let's get started. First, we're going to take some chalk paint and we are going to put 2 coats, front and back. Now, when you're putting the coats of paint on, be aware that you are adding a liquid to a paper surface. So it's better to go with 2 thinner coats rather than 1 or 2 thick coats of paint. Once you have it chalk painted front and back, we're going to find some scrap fabric. I'm using some muslin here. You're going to want a piece that's slightly larger than the size of the journal. We are going to coat this fabric with a good thick layer of Mod Podge. We're going to add a layer of Mod Podge to the front of the journal. And once you have that done, we are going to lay that fabric over the front of the journal. I'd like to add a little something in right here. This is something that I have to deal with on a daily basis. It's associated with my rheumatoid arthritis and my lupus. It's called Raynaud's syndrome. My fingers just, with the slightest bit of cold, it could be 74 degrees out, will turn yellow. It looks like I have bad circulation. I don't. It's called Raynaud's. There's nothing I can do about it except try to warm my hands up. But I just want you guys to be aware of this in case in any future videos you see my fingers turning yellow or blue or purple. It's okay. I'm okay. Once you have that fabric laid over your journal, you're going to take a generous amount of Mod Podge and coat the entire piece of fabric. Then you're going to take the edge of your paintbrush and you are going to start folding in the edges of the fabric. Once you have that done, we're going to get a smaller piece of muslin and we're going to go through the same process. Put a generous amount of Mod Podge on it. You're going to lay it in the center and try to remove all the air bubbles from underneath the fabric. And then you're going to start folding in the edges of this piece also. We're trying to create the illusion that this journal is falling apart, basically. Once you have that done, you're just going to set this aside and you're going to let it dry. If you all are hearing a bunch of licking and smacking noises, it is one of my puppy doodles. It is in my lap and he is licking my face, giving mommy sweet kisses. Okay, so once this is dried, you're going to get that chalk paint back out and you are going to paint over that hardened fabric. Give it a good coat because we want to not have any of that muslin or whatever fabric that you're using showing. We just want it all black. Once that has been set aside to dry, it's time to choose our paper. We are going to choose a paper to go with any embellishments that you're going to want to put to the front of this journal. And we are just going to cut it to size. And the sizes are going to really be dependent on how much space that you have in between those fabric folds. I am cutting out 2 different papers to put on with each other. They just go really well together. I'm going to use a key for the embellishment on one of these books, and then wait until you see what I am doing with the second one. You're going to want to take that paper and wet it, and this is just going to help to fray up the edges of that paper. You're going to want to take your fingernail or a sharp object. You're just going to want to pull off little chunks of the edge of the paper just so you can make it look a little tattered. Once you're done shredding your paper edges, we're going to add another layer of Mod Podge to the front of that journal. Then we're going to lay the paper down on it and add a coat of Mod Podge over that. And just make sure that you have all the air bubbles out from underneath the papers, or at least as much as possible. Now, once you have these laid down and positioned right and Mod Podge on, guess what? Put it aside to dry, and we are going to do the same with the second journal. Now here's where I had some fun. I wanted to do something a little different, and I have this old plastic skull. So I cut the front face part off of this skull, and we're just going to use it to embellish the front of this journal. It should be fun. I wanted to not make it look like it was so plasticky, so I just took my emery board and I just sanded off some of the rough edges where, well, the mold seam was. Then I chose another paper, and it doesn't exactly coordinate with the other embellishments that I'm using. I have some embellishments that I had made for another project, and they're a completely different color than this. But in the end, I think that it worked out all right. So again, you're going to take your paper, you're going to wet it and shred the edges, put your Mod Podge down. And this is only if you're making 2 journals. I just wanted to make 2 journals. I figured while I'm at it, I might as well make a second one. Once that Mod Podge is dried, again, we are going to take this and we're going to try to make it look aged and dusty and old. So I'm taking some French linen chalk paint by Folk Art, and we're just going to get the brush and go through it, and we are going to dry brush the entire surface of this piece with that French linen. And you can see how it's starting to look a little aged and how it's looking more like a raggedy book than just some black painted fabric thrown over the front of a journal. And you're just going to continue doing this over the whole thing. Now on the second journal, you're going to do the same thing if you're making a second journal. And I had laid this embellishment down and it decided it did not want to lift off once I was done with it. So I just left it there while I went ahead and did the aging process with the dry brushing with the French linen. Next, I'm taking some E6000 and some hot glue, and I'm putting it wherever I can on the bottom of this skull embellishment, and we are going to adhere it to the front of the journal. If you notice, I did paint it black. I did not do it on camera, but I'm sorry. So paint your skull black if you have a skull. And then I'm just going over it also with some French linen just to kind of age it up. We're going to be using a couple different colors to try to get this to be the old look that we're going for. I mean, we want it to look like it's about 100 years old, I think. I don't know about you, but I like skulls. There's just something about them. So I have these other embellishments from another project, and I have a mold. I will put that down in the description box, which molds I use to get these. And I am going to do a short video on how you can make a mold without having to use resin or clay if you don't know how to work with resin or clay. And resin, quite honestly, is just really expensive. I made these embellishments with hot glue. Yes, hot glue. So I'll do a tutorial on that in the future. Some butterflies I'm just adding to the edges, and then I'm also going over those with the French linen and aging those up as well. Now I'm taking some embellishment mousse by Nuvo. I love this stuff. I can't even tell you how much I love using this stuff. You just take a little bit out and you smash it up, and the more that you work with it, the creamier it gets. Then I'm just going to, using a paintbrush, kind of dry brush it over certain areas of the top of the book. And if you watch, it's kind of like magic. It's just going to add this metallic-y look to whatever you put it over. And it's a little bit shimmery and a little bit metallic-y. It's just a really great medium. I'm putting it in the edges and the creases where the paper meets the fabric and just giving it that kind of, you know how dust settles in corners kind of look. I'm dry brushing it over the front of the skull face to just add that little bit of metallic sheen to it. And you're just going to keep going until basically you have the look that you want with this. I'm taking a stencil and I'm just going to place it on there, and I'm going to run some of that Nuvo embellishing mousse over the stencil. Then I'm going to take my brush with the French linen and run over it, just kind of to smear it and make it look a little smudgy. And I'm going to grab the other journal and do the exact same thing to it. With this one, I'm just taking the E6000 and I am adhering that key over the paper decoupage on the front of the journal. I thought this key needed some wings. So I have this pack of angel wings in my stash, and I just took it and glued it there. Next, we're going to get some Java chalk paint out, and we're going to water it down, and we're just going to run some really runny, liquidy brown paint into the edges and corners of this, and we're just trying to make it look a little stained and muddy. Y'all should know that I am one of the worst teachers in the world. I do my best to describe what I'm doing to you, and thank you, Jesus, that there are pictures involved so you can see exactly what it is I'm talking about. Once we have this piece looking good and dirtied, we're going to take out some liquid leaf. I'm using gold liquid leaf. I don't know if you've ever used it before, but it's a really nice accent when you're trying to add dimension to a piece. Just go over the edges, kind of dry brushing it here and there, and you're going to add this wherever you think it needs to have a little bit of pop of gold. And you're going to do this again until it's the way that you like it. It's all up to you how you want this decorated. So whatever you think looks beautiful is exactly going to be right. It's going to be great. Next, I'm just going to take that liquid leaf in gold and paint those angel wings. Now, I know that they're already gold, but the liquid leaf, it's a different shade of gold. And this is just going to make it blend better with this journal. And again, we're going to take that same liquid leaf and do the same thing to this journal that we did to the other, and just add touches of it here and there. And once you get done with this, sign your name to your piece and date it, because this is going to be a work of art. And guess what, y'all? We are done. Look at this. I would love for you to share with me on Facebook if you do this project. I would love to see what you come up with. These are just gorgeous. Let me know in the comments section below what you think about this project. Give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell to get notified about all future projects and videos. And until next time, have a magical day.